What made the popular guy/girl lose their popularity? Story 1. This one popular girl in high school got so drunk at a party that she just started shitting herself everywhere. Some friends drove her home and she did it again in the back seat. Not easily forgotten, but it was one of those things no one would say anything about. It's just that the whole school knew by Monday afternoon. What a party pooper. Story 2. He whipped his dick out during class and put it on the shoulder of the girl who was sitting at the desk in front of him. He got kicked out immediately, and I believe there were charges pressed for sexual assault. We were a couple of weeks from graduating, too. Story 3. A guy was bragging for like a solid week about how he slept with 3 girls at school. Turns out 2 of them got pregnant. That was really bad luck, but that wasn't what made him unpopular. What made him unpopular was that one of the pregnant girls was known as the innocent religious girl and genuinely wanted to wait until marriage before having sex. Her friends started questioning why she changed her standards so suddenly. Turns out she was right. Story 4. I went to the same school as the kids of the prime minister of my country at the time. I didn't know the daughter too well, but apparently she went from being popular to being bullied out of school when her dad lost the election. It was pretty sad that people started hating her for something she had no control over. Story 5. He was a new kid, but due to his looks, his parents' wealth, and sports attitude, he quickly became popular. Then he made the mistake of bullying a harmless kid who was on the spectrum and was basically the football team's lucky charm. They did not take kindly to that, and he went from being the next big thing to being the kid that no one wanted to talk to. He had to basically bribe people to keep them around. Story 6. Freshman year of high school, a very popular kid who was the kid freshman phenom wide receiver on a nationally ranked team. We were all leaving class one day, and he randomly decided it was a good idea to make fun of a very well-loved handicapped guy who was dying of his condition, some advanced form of water in the brain if I remember correctly, and even decided to punch him. This knocked the poor kid to the ground. About 10 guys immediately jumped him. A shop teacher saw it happen and let it continue for a minute before stopping things. Mr. Popular got quite messed up in that short window. Kicked off the team, expelled, moved schools in a move that I'm guessing was a way to start over at a new school. Never heard from him again. Went from pep rally king to degenerate outcast in 5 minutes. I had a front row seat and was one of the 50+ who testified to the school admins. The victim passed away later that school year from his condition. You almost never heard him speak, but when he did, it was always kind and thoughtful. Story 7. When I was in 6th grade, one of my classmates brought $90-ish to school. They were gonna go shopping after school. She was the most popular girl in class. At some point during the course of the day, the money went missing. Our teacher went right to the superintendent's office across the hall from our class. This was a super small school where we only had 212 kids total from our kindergarten up to 12th grade. Within minutes, they had pulled us all out of the classroom and separated the boys and girls. The 5th grade teacher took the girls into the bathroom 3 at a time and strip searched them, and the superintendent handled all of us boys. I didn't take the money, but I got in a stall, locked it, and refused to come out. I had some serious skid marks going on that day, and no one on this earth needed to go rooting around in my underpants. He finally gave up and let me go. The cops showed up a few hours later and interviewed all of us one by one. A few weeks later, it got out that she forgot to bring the money to school, and it was home in her bedroom the whole time. Despite us being in a rural area and the next nearest school being 30 miles away, the backlash was bad enough that her parents pulled her out of school and sent her over to the next town. In retrospect, people f**k up, and our anger at her was misplaced compared to the mountain of lawsuits that should have come down on her superintendent. Story 8. A popular boy cried in class during a discussion about a recent tragedy because someone close to him died in the said tragedy. He got relentlessly bullied for the short time afterward that he was at that school. He was a good kid that didn't deserve any of that. I really hate middle school kids sometimes. Story 9. A popular girl was driving drunk on her way to school and caused a pretty bad accident involving 3 other cars. She spilled liquor on herself and slammed on the brakes in a line of cars. Her car managed not to have a scratch. She swapped seats with their passenger in front of everyone before the cops arrived. A few minutes later, we realized that she has disappeared. She had slipped into another car that had stopped to see if everything was okay. Several people ended up getting tickets, and her passenger ended up getting a DUI, driving under the influence. She was unpopular until graduation. Story 10. Word got out that the guy raped his girlfriend, and all his popular friends tried to defend it. Just happened recently, and it's still weird since people either hate him or say he made a mistake. There was another guy who was more known than popular, and he just got booked in for raping a 12-year-old. Story 11. Well, the guy wasn't exactly popular to begin with, but he was well known. He punched some girl at my school in the face for no reason at a concert. Shortly after this, there was news that he rolled his brand new Camaro going 95 in a 45. This cost him and another guy at our school a lot of injuries. His friend lost their entire car in the accident. Oh, and this was right after they stole beer from Kroger. They were drunk driving. Anyways, people kept their distance after this. Another kid that comes to mind was someone very popular in our grade. One of my friends went over to his house and used his computer without permission. My friend ended up finding terabytes of child on his PC. From what I hear, the FBI even got involved. He was never seen at school again after that. Story 12. I was the popular girl, developed full-blown schizophrenia during my sophomore year of high school, and had a spiral that rivaled a Hollywood movie. By the time I graduated, everyone knew me as that weird, crazy witch girl who talked to herself and had no friends. Now I'm out of high school, stable, on my meds, with people in my life who love me, and I haven't thought about popularity since. Life is wild. Story 13. I was somewhat part of that crowd, and God, there was a lot of drama. One of the girls got shunned by practically everyone in her class after it was revealed that she slept with the boyfriend of this other really well-liked girl. She got lots of judgment about it, though somehow the guy got away with it without much issue. I almost felt bad for her. But then I didn't, because the year before she made the Spanish teacher cry by being so rude, and later in the year she was caught cheating in our bio class and pressuring this really smart girl to give her the answers. She wasn't exactly a good person. Story 14. He was in my grade. We were seniors and it was the last few days of school. He and some of his buddies, who were also popular but not nearly as much, decided to vandalize the school. At night they spray painted dicks and stuff all over the outside of the place. They also sprayed the words "could have done worse" on the big entryway doors in the front. Well, they got caught. Their punishment? None of them graduated. They all had to repeat the year. Everyone thought they were idiots after that. According to one of my friends who was a grade younger, many people would say "could have done better" to them in passing. Story 15. They lost their place to a kind and warm-hearted sweet girl with a very sunny and positive vibe. Then suddenly everyone was around her and not around the popular kid/bully. Basically, the students finally saw what they really needed. Story 16. Nothing that dramatic, but they graduated high school and then they became a literal nobody. There was this kid named Matt who spent all of grades 1 through 12 writing his older brother's fame. His older brother was a very charismatic and proactive person, big into sports and the student council president, valedictorian, highest grades, you name it. Matt just walked in as the little bro and got all the attention and popularity from the teachers and students because of who his brother was. It hit him hard when he went to the local university and realized that no one knew him or paid him any attention. In June, he graduated high school as the valedictorian and had a massive amount of rewards and scholarships. By the end of the semester, only 3 weeks into university, I saw him in a biology class. Your typical first-year general bio class that every program seemed to need. He was one of the 500 students in a massive auditorium, sitting in the back. I noticed him in the back because he was there with a friend, randomly shouting out comments and funny one-liners to try and mock the professor. The kind of shit you would have had people giggling at and commenting, "Wow, you're so cool, you're so funny," in grade school. Well, that didn't fly here. Instead of attention, all he got were nasty glares and being ignored by everyone. His entire world crumbled. He went through literal withdrawal from the lack of attention and popularity. Less than 6 weeks into university, he dropped out. My friends and I ran into him at a bowling alley a few years later. He was unrecognizable. From being thin and athletic, he looked like he put on 50 pounds and had a massive beer gut, scruffy beard, and was married with 2 kids, each with different mothers. He had the whole world in the palm of his hand, and then reality smacked the life out of him. Story 17. Admittedly, this popular person didn't lose their popularity, but I will contend that this is the dumbest thing a popular kid has ever done. During high school, we all had to read a book about the Holocaust. I don't remember the exact book, but it was an incredible story, obviously in a horrible yet eye-opening way. After every English class finished reading it, we had a school-wide assembly where an Auschwitz survivor came and spoke about all their experiences. It was an incredibly heavy assembly, and it was clearly respected. There weren't any goofing around like in normal assemblies. Everyone, including the class clowns, settled down to give this person respect. After their presentation, they opened the floor to general questions. Most people asked pretty tame questions, but this one particular popular person raised his hand and asked, "Did you ever have a one-on-one encounter with Hitler?" The presenter was dumbfounded, and the entire school went silent like a collective, "What the f did you just ask?" Story 18. There was a new kid at our school that I'll call Alex for this moment. He was athletic, funny, good-looking, etc. He got in with the popular kids pretty quickly and got along with just about everyone. It was a small-town school. There was a special needs kid in our grade that I'll call Josh. Everybody loved Josh like a little brother, and we were all very protective of him. One day, about a week after Alex got into the school, he was teasing Josh out in the courtyard, and Josh was getting really upset. A few kids told him to cut it out, and Alex got so angry that he pushed Josh. He instantly was attacked by several of the nearby guys and was getting the snot beat out of him until the teacher got there. Alex was suspended for 2 weeks, and the guys attacking him were suspended for 1 week. When he got back, he was basically shunned. Nobody would talk to him unless it was school-related, and during gym class, people would just do whatever they had to exclude him. He switched schools a few weeks after the incident happened. Looking back on it, his treatment was really harsh, but he freaking deserved it in my eyes. Story 19. This is actually kind of sad, but the guy I knew was declared the athlete of the century at our school. He was amazing at football, track, rugby, and wrestling, and didn't play hockey though, which was big where I am. But everyone loved this guy because he almost single-handedly won us provincial championships. I hate to bring this into it, but he was also one of the only 2 black kids at our school, so we really had to break some prejudices by some of the people there, and it's a small rural community. But then he suffered a gruesome leg injury that ended his career. So when he stopped playing sports, people sort of forgot about him as well. This was 12 years ago, and I actually saw him a few months back. He was doing well. I'm 2 years younger, and he was always nice to me. To make it even sadder, last year his brother, another great athlete, took his own life. He didn't go to our school though, so I didn't know him. Story 20. She was a bit of a pretty as a picture, but dim as a dark room. Once people saw how she really was as a person, like her using her own looks to get what she wanted and throwing a fizzy hit when she didn't get it, that caused people to lose interest really quickly. I actually met her about a decade after we graduated, and she was a completely different person. Really humble and gentle, actually a lot more clever than she appeared. I have no idea what she's doing now. Story 21. He had already lost a lot of popularity from going to a state-mandated rehab once, though the last straw was when he crashed and killed a girl before he made it out of his driveway only a couple of months after he got out of mandatory rehab while driving drunk. He used to be friends with the guy, but he had a downward spiral, and the last I heard about him is he's still in jail. Don't drink and drive, people. It's not just your life on the line when you make that decision. Story 22. Here's my story. In 5th grade, we moved and I changed schools. I went from a school in the city where everyone got along and was friends to a school in the suburbs where I was introduced to popular and unpopular for the first time. As a fat, quiet kid, I was quickly deemed unpopular and took my fair share of abuse. Around March or April, my teachers moved our desks around and set up islands of 4 to 5 desks around the room, except for 2. The most popular boy in the school, who was a troublemaker in class, and I moved our seats right up next to the side of hers. I later found out that she did this for 2 reasons. 1, to keep an eye on him, and 2, she felt I'd be a good influence on him. A funny thing happened. Between then and the end of school, we became best friends, and I became the 2nd most popular kid in the school. I started getting invited to birthday parties, kids stopped being crappy to me, and I got invited to play football at lunch, and girls liked me. It was amazing. And then summer happened, and we were in different classes the next year. He forgot about me, and then he moved, and then everyone went back to treating me like That's my little story about losing popularity. Story 23. This person had been a compulsive liar to the point where no one believed a single thing she said. Let's make a list real quick. After her boyfriend had told his friends that they had sex with her, she spread rumors that she was pregnant and started to wear really baggy clothes. She said that she drove to the Super Bowl, which at the time was in Texas, and made it back the next morning for school. We live in Michigan. She said she kissed Tom Brady at said Super Bowl, started drama and rumors with every person in the school, and I almost forgot to mention that she apparently had the kid and that her parents were taking care of it until she graduated. Man, why is there always that one girl who lies about getting pregnant? Story 24. A tall, good-looking foreign exchange student showed up one year with a killer smile and some impressive soccer skills. Never thought I'd see schoolgirls giggle and follow around boys in a crowd like they do on TV shows, but this guy made it happen. He abruptly stopped showing up one day after a few months. I don't know 100% what happened, but the rumor was that he got sent back for putting some pretty serious racist symbols in poetry/art project that he was making, thinking that it would be a pretty funny joke. Story 25. He was popular among the group of people he was associated with. I don't think he was super popular or anything, punk/grunge kid. All his popularity went out the window when he went out the window of his car after it crashed into a building because he was huffing paint and speeding down the road with one of the group's popular girls. Thankfully, she survived, but from what I recall, he wasn't remembered so fondly after that. Story 26. In high school, she was good at singing, so people became jealous of her. They said, "Sing for us, Christina," and if she sang, they'd say, "Look at her showing off, singing in the school hallways." And if she didn't sing, they'd say, "Look at her stick up her ass. She thinks she's too good to sing for us." And so eventually, I think she got tutored her senior year and beyond. Oh, and her last name was Aguilera. Story 27. He made varsity freshman year, hung out with all the older kids and didn't give two shits about his friends from our own age. 2 years later, they all graduated, and even his close friends saw through him trying to get back to being the popular kid. By the time we were seniors, he chilled out, stopped being so full of himself, and was a great student and athlete. We ended up getting along in the end. Not exactly close, but that's because we played opposite sports. Every hockey player played soccer too. He and his good friend played basketball and football. It was a weird dynamic cheer during football season and no one gave a shit about soccer, and every hockey season no one cared about basketball. Story 28. She started a fight with another popular girl over something petty. The other popular girl, unbeknownst to all of us, practiced martial arts and delivered with one hand the most beautiful, graceful punch that I have ever had the pleasure of seeing whilst pulling out a chunk of hair of the other. The other girl was suspended and skyrocketed higher than ever, while the popular girl who did start the fight became little more than a laughingstock with a temporary bald spot. Story 29. I was popular in grade 9 and 10. I used to make jokes in class, skip/show up late, and cared about a lot of wearing name-brand clothes and talk to everyone. I would even buy candy to share it with them all. My grades suffered a lot, and I barely passed thanks to the kindness of my teachers. In grades 11 and 12, I buckled down. I pretty much only talked about schoolwork and always spent more time with teachers after class. No more showing up late/skipping. I always hung out in the library at lunch to study too. I guess for me it was becoming a serious student. Story 30. Way back when I was in school, a girl who was quite popular decided she could make fun of another kid's Down syndrome sibling in front of her friends. Well, the popular kids in my school weren't jerks, and so they didn't laugh and literally turned their backs on her. She was a loner for the rest of the year. It wasn't funny at the time, nor is it funny now. We were at a park one night with a lot of kids hanging out when she did it. She tried to apologize to her friends for some reason, not the kid or his brother. That's when the other kids got in a car and left her alone standing there after telling her it wasn't funny and she should apologize to the kid and his brother, not them. I think this was just one thing in a long line of problems they had with her, and this was just the final one. So the high school had no say in it, but yes, if it happened in school, she would have gotten in trouble for saying it. She also did very rude hand/arm gestures. Also, on a side note, when I say no one laughed, I mean no one. It was more like you could hear crickets and the girl laughing until she realized it was only her. Story 31. There was a girl who was super popular throughout middle school. Then this rumor started that she attempted her dog in the sexual acts with peanut butter. The rumor stuck too. Like throughout school, people would say her name and then say peanut butter and then her name again. People would write this on whiteboards and everything. I saw her leave class in tears multiple times. It was horrible. The dog was a Cocker Spaniel too, which obviously did not help. The tea, however, was our school junior and senior year offered this kind of special program where half the school got exclusive invites to spend the day making a difference. Literally, it was called Redo Day, and it was apparently pretty intense. It was designed to have people come together and accept differences and stuff, which is kinda stupid considering the absolute abysmal lack of diversity in my school, but I digress. I was never invited, so this part is secondhand, but apparently during the open mic portion where people made admissions and come clean, her twin brother took the mic and fully admitted it was he who started the rumor. That's why the rumor stuck so hard and freaking ruined this girl's whole school life. That was wild. Story 32. Went to a private school that had a middle school as well. The guys who were popular in middle school were typically the centers of the popular crowd going into high school. It also helped that they basically got free to be on the sports team freshman year. A group of guys was pretty much the center of popularity for 3 of the 4 years just by being sorta bro douches and flaunting the fact that they got to do parties and chew dip. Eventually, everyone just sorta got tired of them and was less insecure about acting like themselves and trying not to fit in. So the douchey bros eventually faded away during senior year into their little clique of 5 dudes who stopped being invited to most of the parties that the rest of the class, many who were used to getting bullied included, went to.